If you would like to support the channel, I'm now selling shirts and coffee mugs. There's a few different designs. So if you're interested, the link will be in the description. Thanks. Yeah, Intellivision dude here. And today I'm going to be doing a video on the Backbit flash cartridge. Now, I already did some videos on this already, but I thought I would do an all-in-one video where I have all the information all in one video. So you don't gotta jump from this video to that video and so forth. Now with a Backbit, you plug in these adapters so you can play your retro games on your retro systems. Now I bought one for the Intellivision and I bought one for the Atari 2600. Now when you buy an adapter, they cost $129 US, and you get one adapter that comes with it, of your choosing. And of course I chose the Intellivision. Now you can buy separate adapters, and there's a whole bunch of systems. I'll show a list here. Choose an adapter. Look at the list here. I don't know how to pronounce some of those. Asatronic, Amstrad, Apple, all the Atari systems, Commodore systems, ColecoVision, IBM, Aquarius even, Master System, Vectrex, Tommy Tudor. There's quite a few. Now you plug this, I'm going to show you with the 2600 because I'm going to show you something. The slot, there's a slot right there, and that matches up with that notch right there. Can you see? Let me see that right there. Yeah, that notch. So it kind of lines up perfectly. Because I'll tell you one tip for the 2600 that I didn't know, and I almost messed up, is that normally when you put in a 2600 game, the cartridge label is usually facing away. But no, on this one you need to have the Backbit label facing towards you. And I put it in backwards, and I've heard that you can fry these things when you do that. I got lucky, and I didn't fry it. But it could have been bad. And these come out fairly easy. Just wiggle it like so. Now I'm going to use my IntelliVoice as my example here, because I usually plug my Backbit into my IntelliVoice anyway. But if you didn't have an IntelliVoice, your cartridge slot on the Intellivision, it's just the same. Now my advice is to, when you put this in here, is to actually look inside the console to line it up properly. Because if you guess, you know what happens most of the time when I try to guess? See, there's no housing on this, and the housing usually would help you line it up perfectly, so you don't have to look inside here. But since there's no housing, you really need to line it up with that cartridge slot, or you'll end up going above it or below it, which I do every time when I try to do it blind. Because usually when you put in a television cartridge, you don't look, you just put it in there, because it lines up perfectly. And there you go. Now for the SD card, you want the SD card, the logo and everything to be facing this way. Because this is what the back looks like, you know. These are micro SD cards. You want it facing this way with the logo, and it should go right in. I did have a little bit of trouble with that on my first video, but then after I figured it out, it goes in every time. And now I will show you a card reader. I paid $4.51 off eBay. They're generic, and they're probably made from China, and they're all generic. But you know, I actually had an old computer that had a card reader built in right into the front of it, and that was really nice. But the last two computers I've owned haven't had a card reader. So with that, you kind of have to buy an external one. And this little cheap one works just fine. And I just put my card in there, and then I just plug this into my computer. There's usually USB ports on the front or back. It usually does not matter. Now for this next step, we're going to be putting ROMs on this thing. And to do that, I'm going to be using Windows. So if you have a Mac, you know, iOS, whatever, I cannot help you. When I first put the card reader into my computer, I'm on the this PC page. There, I put it in and come up under drive H. Now the drive letter could be different for you. I don't know if all drive letters are similar on computers, but you should be able to find it. And you can make your own folders. I made one for the Intellivision and one for the Atari 2600. This one called .backbit. That was made by the Backbit itself when I first put it in my console and turned it on for the first time. So I advise don't delete that. And you can make as many folders, as many subfolders as you want. It doesn't matter. This one called .saves, that was made by the Backbit itself as well, because the Backbit can actually save games that have a save function. At least all the ones I've tried so far. I don't have too many games that save, but I can show you that as well. But if you want the new folder, it's pretty simple. You just right click anywhere in here and click put on the new and a new folder. We'll just name it Sega. There's one Sega game on the Intellivision. You know, I probably will delete this afterwards, because I put Congo Bongo with other networks, because you know it's just too many networks to keep track of. Now, if you had a ROM, let's say you bought X-Rally from Intellivision Collector, it's a new game that's out. You buy the ROM, and you can just drag it right on over. Let's just come on over here, drag it into my Backbit. There you go. That's how you put a ROM on here. It's so simple. And next I will show you some conversions and some examples. Now here is an example of a few file types. You have .rom, you have .bin, and we have .ecs. Now this is just some experimenting I was doing. I finally got one of those to work. But usually a .bin won't work by itself. You would need to combine it with the matching CFG file, and you would need to convert it to a .rom. But for some reason, some of these older bins that are in these older ROM sets seem to work. Not all of them, but most seem to work. Now the .ecs is a new format that EV, the creator of the Backbit, made to get some games working in different ways. So now I will show you how to convert some files. Now right off the bat, you should download a few files. You should download the emulator JZintv, and I'll put a link in the description to these things. But with it comes from some utilities. Now there's more utilities than just these, but these are the main two that you'll need. Bin2rom.exe and rom2bin.exe. Now Eevee made one called Bin2ecs. Now I am not an expert on this. I can just tell you what I know is that some games have bank switching. Now any game that has bank switching will not run as a .rom. So you would have to convert it to .ecs. Bad Apple is one of these. So to convert though, you would need a bin and its matching CFG file. And if you don't have its matching CFG file, then you might be in a little bit of trouble. I'll put a link to something on Atari Age about matching CFG files. Now you can take that information and do with it what you want, but it's a little on the complicated side. But there are some CFG files there. But if you have the .bin and the matching CFG file, you would just drag the .bin. They have to be named exactly the same. See how it's badapple.bin, badapple.cfg? See, if it's named wrong, you'll have to rename them so they're perfect. You would drag this onto bin2ecs, because this Bad Apple has bank switching. And that would pop up there. And then you press enter to proceed. and then it magically made badapple.ecs. Now, here's an example. The new Lock and Chase game that is sold by Intellivision, The Revenge of Lupin, comes in actually two formats. It comes in the bin and CFG, and I think it comes in the ROM. Let me see here. I think it's right here. The bin, the CFG, and the ROM. Actually, if you just have the ROM, then you're fine. But let's say you didn't have the ROM. Let's say you just had the bin and the .cfg. Now this is not gonna, probably won't play on its own. You could always test it to make sure, but if you have the .bin and the .cfg and they're all labeled correctly, you would just drag it onto the bin to ROM, and there you go. Now, I don't have one here to show you this, but let's, I should have had this experiment too. But let's say you have a ROM, but it's just not working on your Backbit. Here, let me go find one so I can show you. Okay, for this experiment, we're just going to pretend skiing it doesn't work properly. Of course it does. Well, let's just pretend. Let's say it had bank switching or something. It's just not working properly. Your first step would be to drag it onto rom.bin, and it creates a bin and a CFG. Now from here, we could experiment and like put it into Bin2ecs or something. Now I will show you a final example. Or actually, no, I actually have, a final example, but it's also Rick Dynamite here, which is also sold by the Intellivision collector. Originally, it only worked after I went into the command line, which I will show you here in a second, and converted it to .ecs, but I had to set the J flag, which is a little bit more complicated. But now, with a recent update to the Backbit, now .roms will now save if they're in the JLP format. Originally, that was not the case. Because games only can save on the Intellivision if they're in the JLP format. And originally, you only could do that if you converted it to .ecs with the command line and set the J flag. It was a little overcomplicated. But we're going to convert it anyway, just so I can show you how to do this. Because there is still some games out there that conversion is necessary. I think Fantasy, which is also sold by the Intellivision collector, will not work unless you convert it to .ecs. But now, since some games will work with .rom, conversion is not always necessary now, and that is great. Before I show you the command prompt, we'll be working in the C drive today to make things easier, because the C drive is usually your default drive in your computer. That'll just make things easier. Normally, I work in the J drive, because that's just one of my extra hard drives. And it's a lot easier to work on these files on your actual hard drive than it is to do it on your flash card. Or not your flash card, but your SD card. Usually I work on the files, then I drag them over to my SD card when I'm done. So to get your command prompt, we will hit the Windows key, then hit S. That'll bring up your search function. And if your command prompt's not already up there, which it probably won't be because I was just working on it, it's a recent thing, just type in command prompt. Usually it'll autofill for you. It'll pop up over here on the side, and you click open. And if you were working in a different drive letter, here's where you would put in your drive letter and colon, and then you would hit enter. But since we're already in the C drive by default, we can skip that step. Now from here's where you type in the name of your folder. Now we'll bring this down so we can actually see the name of our folder, which is C Intellivision. So here we'll put in, change the directory to CD space, and then C drive, :Intellivision. So to make this easier for yourself, you should probably create a Intellivision folder on your C drive. And now we're in our drive here. Oops, I clicked off it there. I was just trying to move it a little bit. So we will be doing the Rick Dynamite here. Now, it is much easier, I must say, to do this when you're... it doesn't work too well when there's hyphens and all these other characters and stuff in your file. So actually, we will take a step back. I'm going to rename this. It is much easier and a lot simpler. And sometimes it doesn't work too well when there's spaces and everything else in here. So we're going to rename this .bin to just rickdynamite.bin. And we will rename the CFG the same thing. Sometimes it just won't work. Sometimes there's errors and it just won't work. Take out the space so they're identical. Same thing with the folders. If you're too many folders in, I seem to have issues with that too. I'm not an expert enough to do that properly. So now that we have that, now we're going to run the Bin2ecs program. So we would type in Bin2ecs, and we'd do a space, and then now we're going to set the J flag. So -J, and then we'll type in the name of the file, which is rickdynamite. Capital doesn't matter. Rick. Actually, capitals don't matter, but if you don't put in capitals, it'll come out without capitals in the file that's created, but you can rename it later. It doesn't matter. So rickdynamite.bin. If I did that correctly, it worked. Press enter to proceed, and it created rickdynamite.ecs. Now we're in the Backbit website. Here you can go to the store, the forums, and the downloads. But now I'm going to show you how to update your Backbit. Go to downloads, and because sometimes new firmware comes out all the time. Actually, I don't need the current firmware. Here it is, Backbit right here. And the newest one looks like it's 3.34. We will download it. Here you can see the revisions. See, the last one for the Intellivision was 3.29. So as long as you had 3.29 and you just had an Intellivision adapter, that's all you would need. Well, one good thing about the Backbit is that, let's say you want to go back. Let's say 3.34 messed up something. You can actually re-download 3.29, put that on there, and it'll revert back. It's that open. It's that great. All right, we have the update. Now for the Intellivision, I believe you do not need this file called .tar, but you could just drag it over anyway. It doesn't matter. You would drag over these two. I would just highlight both of these, and I'll drag them over to the root drive, which is the first page that you see when you open up your SD card, where you put your first folders at. And why not? We'll just drag over the other files that we're working on. Let me shorten that down. Oops. Come on. Behave yourself. rickdynamite.ecs. Let's see. rickdynamite ROM. badapple.ecs. And I think that's good enough. Now when you're done, I would go back over to here, or is it? No, it's here. And I would right click on your drive and then click eject. I goofed up one time. The power went off with my SD card still in my computer, and it erased everything on the SD card. So I recommend backing up everything on your SD card. Just taking everything and put it on your hard drive. Eject. And save to remove hardware. Don't forget to put your SD card back in your Backbit flash cartridge for returning this on. If you're doing an update, turn on your console. And it just updated. Just like that. I have my ECS attached. I think that's why I said ECS right there. but it updated. It showed you the when you first turn it on, it'll show you the thing, the revision number. We'll turn it back off and on again though. Yeah, 3.34. So here are our files that we created. We dragged over. This is the bad apple. Works as intended. Also, I forgot to mention that on the very end of the Backbit is a little reset button, the little red button. You click on that, send you right back into the menu of the Backbit, which is great. Here's the Rick Dynamite release, which works just fine in the .rom form, no problems at all. And this was the .ecs file that I had created. It works good that way too. Now I'll show you some things that you can do with the Backbit menu itself. Anywhere in here, if you just press number 1, you can create a new directory. Now I was hoping that you could rename the directory with the ECS keyboard that I have here, but that is not the case. I was really hoping. I want to create a thread on that on the Backbit forums and see if anything can be done about that. But if you create a new directory, it does make a new directory. But anyway, you can set the time and the date. You can change the colors. Contrasted, alternate. I just leave it on default. Boot normal. There's also a fast boot, but I haven't noticed any difference. I'm not sure about that. Now, these utilities, I think, come up on the other systems as well. So if you have maybe a Atari, ColecoVision, or for the Atari 2600 to get into these kind of menus, you would need the keyboard controller, which I don't own. But you can change the sort. Directories first. Now, I like that better. So that puts the folders on top. If you put alphabetical, then it makes the ROMs and the folders be alphabetical, which I do not like. I prefer that to be directories first. Now, if you click number 2 on the keypad, it'll tell me what it is that I'm hovering over. It's a new directory. Now, if I was over this right here, hit number 2, it tells me it's bad apple, and it tells me what kind of file it is. It's a ECS file, and the size of a file, which is really nice. Now this one, since we can't read the whole thing, if you click number 2, now you can read the full title. It'll tell you that it's a .rom. It's 48.5 kilobits, which is cool. If you hit number 3 on the keypad, if we had any saves here, I will send you to where I do have some saves. I know that game saves, my Rick Dynamite. I don't know why I have it in here twice. Maybe I was experimenting as well. If we click number 3 on this one, we have the original and the modified save. It's one thing the Backbit actually does not do. Let me move my microphone. The Backbit actually does not modify the game when it saves. It does not. It just creates a modified save. So if I click original, it'll go into the game like before it made the save. If you click modified, then it'll show you the save. So if you click on modified and open it, actually you can do multiple things in there too. It should show my high score if we wait for the screen to pop up here. Hall of Fame, and I should be on there. JZintv, dude. Now, if we go back into the Backbit menu and click number 4. Wait, no, sorry. Let me go back. Number 3, my bad. And click on original and open. Now, if you just click on the ROM itself, it's going to take you to the modified save. If you didn't do all this, it's going to be without my save. That's how it is originally. Now, if we click number 4, auto start on boot. If I actually I can actually set it so whatever game I'm hovering over, which is Rick Dynamite, it'll auto start on boot. So if I turn off the system, let's see, we'll click yes. Now if I turn the console off and back on, instead of going into the Backbit menu, it'll go right into Rick Dynamite, which is really cool. Now to get back to the Backbit, you just hit the reset on the Backbit itself. Well, it's stuck. Let me turn it off and back on again. Oh, actually, I remember what to do. To get back into it, you hold down the reset button on the Backbit, then turn on the console. Then let go of the reset. Then you're back in. Sorry, I forgot a step and I messed it up. But that's how you get back into it. I'll probably turn off the auto start on that later. So let's see what else we got here. You can auto start on boot, you can duplicate, and you can erase. I think 5 through 6, 7, 8, 9 does nothing. I think that's everything. I think I showed you everything. We can erase this directory too, though. Let's see, is that number 3? No, that's the saves. 4, there we go, erase. We'll erase this directory that we made. It's not necessary. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. I hope if you get a Backbit, I hope this video helped you. And thanks for watching. I want to add this to the end of the video because I forgot to mention it when I recorded originally. Is that the compatibility for the Backbit on the Intellivision is about 99.9%. There is 3 games that I can't get to work. One is the Pandora incident, one is Whale Hunt, and one is the teaser ROM for Zor. Now, I know an official release for the Pandora incident got released, but I don't know if it's in ROM form. And I think Zor got released as well. But I tried them in all formats and I can't get them to work. Also, you cannot get games that are in the .luigi format to work, because those are specific to Electronite ROMs, and they might have encryption in them. So they're impossible to get to work on the Backbit. But a lot of Electronite games these days are getting released in ROM form finally. So that's good. And they should work no problem. But, you know, I don't have them to test them, unfortunately. And another thing to mention is that if you have a game that has save capabilities like Rick Dynamite, after you get your save, don't turn off your console right away. Hit the reset button, you know, the little red button on the end of the Backbit, so it cycles through, and then it'll save. But with that being said, look how many ROMs you do have. This is all 125 right here. All 125 in various categories. Plus, look at all these homebrews here. Plus, I have Intelligent Vision ones in here. I have Intellivision Revolution in here. I have page after page after page after page after page of ROMs. All of these work. Some are free, some you have to pay for. Now, real quickly here, let's see if I can remember. I know Rick Dynamite saves. I don't own every game that saves, so I can't test them all. I know that... I'm curious about Onion. I can't figure out a way to get that to save yet. I don't know if it can or not. GoSub. GoSub saves your high score. And surprisingly, Desert Bus will save your high score in the minigame that's included. There's a minigame included called Deserter Bus. There I am at the bottom there. JZintv, dude. It saves your high score in this one as well. I forgot to mention that Fantasy saves too. That's the one that's sold by the Intellivision Collector. I have a score of 22,010. And I click number 3, go down to original save, open. You can see the original score is 20,000. So I broke it by that much. That much. But anyway, this video's been going on long enough. And I think I showed you everything. If I forgot something, I don't know. But I think the Backbit's amazing. I think you should get one. I think the LTO might be a little bit better on the compatibility side, but they're also hard to get these days. But the Backbit's amazing because you can use it on other systems. And Eevee's constantly updating it. There was a time that certain games would not work, and now they do. Centipede had an issue where it would skip the title screen and go right into the game, and now that's fixed. Some games that didn't work started working with the last update that was done. So it's great. The compatibility is near perfect.